Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good present moment wherever you are. You are all present here with your attention and discipline. Thank you for your company. We are going to start as usual, first with the affirmation of our refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, Sangha, which are not people, tradition, status, individuals, titles. People get so attracted to them, but not to the Buddha. Can't believe it. So we have to really make sure that refuge is is in the triple gem, which never disappoint any time. So it's good to know the refuge is in the triple gem, and we need to reaffirm that, not just as a custom to say refuge at the beginning, but always try to be in refuge. Always rejoicing the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and it's a constant unfolding of those qualities in ourselves. And when we don't have this, we become very negative, we become very mean, we become very opposite to what this teaching is showing to do. So that shows we are losing our refuge. When we are not able to stay in the light of the Dharma. Light of the Dharma, we should stay completely lit in the Dharma's direction. Then our thoughts, our perceptions, our feelings, our emotion do not play up, but follow the light where it is showing. Buddha is the teacher who shows the way. We need to look where it is showing. Should not be distracted by anything else. When we are not happy, it's because we are blaming others, we're seeing bad things in others, we are failing to see the qualities within ourselves. So that's why refuge is not just a formality, but it should be the main essence of the practice. And then, of course, the bodhicitta and practicing four immeasurables is almost like a complement to having refuge. The person practices these four immeasurables. Loving kindness. It's easy to practice hurt, sadness, and upset. When you practice loving kindness, it overcomes all the above. And so that's why I'm saying these prayers are not only ourselves, for the way we dedicate for others who are not in good space and crook and negative. Think of them and then dedicate this loving kindness and compassion to them. So with this, we'll do the prayers. Thank you, everybody. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Vajra Vajra Bhavarcha Ajivandala Ashare Buddha Vajra and Buddha Dhamma Asanga Vajra Vajra Mahayana Ajandala Ajare Buddha Vajra and Buddha Dhamma Asanga Ajare Vajra Mahayana Ajandala Ajare Buddha Vajra. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never bar from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. Happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those never. May all beings have happiness and cause May the dwelling equanimity, free from attachment, will and those according to the intelligence and predisposition return the Dharma, agre love and common vehicles. So, welcome everyone. We are continuing this study and reflection and understanding of the Uttaratantra, a very important classical Mahayana Buddhist scripture. It's not the actual writings of the teachings, direct words of the Buddha, but Shastra or commentary written by Asanga, 4th century, very towering Buddhist teacher, who, due to his humility, attributed this work to future Buddha. Good on him. He says that can't go wrong. He didn't want to put his name on it because all the Buddhist authors usually don't want to say they wrote it. So he actually attributed to Maitreya, but traditionally everybody says Maitreya is teaching, but of course it is not. It is teaching of all the Buddhas, of past, present, future. From that point of view, Maitreya is included, but otherwise it is definitely writing of Asanga, and who heavily relies on number of Buddhist Shakyamuni Buddha sutras. I don't think he relies on any sutra taught by Maitreya, because there are no sutras taught by Maitreya. So it will be made very clearly. So we have been studying these over the last 3 terms, and we are progressing very well. And all of you have been very consistent, regular participants. So that makes it really important, because people makes the continuity. In the monasteries, these kind of classes and study happens every day, and then they memorize the texts, and maybe in early mornings, and in the mid morning they get the teachings. Afternoon they have discussion and debate, whereas we have only one class a week as a lay people. That's commendable, and then being able to consistently attend the classes, particularly through Zoom, has made it everybody stick with the commitment to do that, and the technical assistance of the people who make this available is even more so, because we are all necessary to have a good setup like this to be able to do that. Somebody is doing tireless amount of work to make these things happen. And this is because he or she is inspired by everybody's gracious participation in whatever way you have been supporting by being there every week. And this inspires each other. So this is really what makes Sangha possible. I remember years ago, maybe in the early 2000s, we wanted to see whether we could get a Tibetan monk to come and be assistant teacher, and he started teaching some classes. It's actually once a week only. Of course, he knows that, and he expected everybody to attend every week. When they don't, he gets disappointed. He says, "These people don't come, so how can I teach again?" Then because he doesn't realize these are really householders who have kids at home and work in the work at the thing, and they try to fit in once a week, and some of them can't because they have odd hours and so on. And even some of those ordained people, he said, "Oh, even they don't come." He was disappointed. I said, look, this is Australia. This is not monastery where everybody's fed and clothed and living in the same compound very comfortably. Don't have to do anything but be a studious student. This is not. These people have to drive from home and negotiate the traffic and so on and so forth. They don't understand, But of course here, we have these days the benefit of the technology, and all of your consistent participation would have definitely given each other of you inspiration to see very familiar faces joining regularly. I think these are some of the things that we need to always acknowledge. So thank you, everybody's very diligence. So anyway, this text has 7 Vajra points, and we are currently going through the 6th Vajra points, which is the qualities of the enlightened ones. And last week we finished talking about the maturation of qualities of 32 major marks, that also includes 80 minor marks. How does the fully enlightened one, with qualities of freedom from 32 freedoms, they have therefore to ripen others. They have 32 excellent qualities. And now we're going to move on today about talking about the analogy of these qualities. So, verse number 266, which we're going to start. You should have all the handout there. So, just as the form of the moon is seen in a cloudless sky in autumn, in a deep blue water of a lake. So this is talking about the reflection of the moon can be seen better in a cloudless sky, particularly in autumn, in deep blue water of a lake. So this is the analogy of the visibility of the moon's face. Clearly, this is that you can very, very clearly see in the lake. Likewise, the all-pervasive form we were talking about is the Rupakaya. The Rupakaya, all-pervasive form, is that the enlightened ones who manifest. Ever since Shakyamuni Buddha manifests in this world, even though his corporal body passed away in nirvana, but his actual qualities that ripens and matures us are constantly seen. All pervasive form of the victor's air is seen in the mandala of the perfect Buddha. So Shakyamuni Buddha's coming to the world is constantly manifesting, and therefore we who every day join the hand and take refuge. We take refuge because we constantly remember these pervasive qualities of the Buddha's radiance of his light, and how these things are manifesting. And some good practitioners, they will see that in the activities of their teachers, because activities of the teachers are like the rays of the sun of the Shakyamuni Buddha. The rays of the sun of the Shakyamuni Buddha. The Shakyamuni Buddha's activity is constantly shining. There's not a time that is not. That's what we call all pervasive. The sun, we likened it last week, is always shining. It's just that some locations there is no sun, but sun itself is always shining. So all this pervasive meaning that's a lot of people, they may be very far away from their actual teachers. Like many people in Tibet are practicing Dharma. They have not even seen His Holiness Dalai Lama. They hear his voice. They access his teaching sometimes through maybe on social media, but they never had actually ability to see him in person. But they're always seeing his radiance of the Buddha coming through the work and activities of His Holiness Dalai Lama as a perfect kind of a way to keep themselves inspired and motivated. So just as we can see the moon, however distant it is, could be seen when all the conditions like autumn, like a cloudless night, when the night's very clear and a full moon, then the reflection will be clear. Likewise, when the disciples' faith and pure perceptions permitting the very all-pervasive activities of maturation, because Buddha Dharma, Shakyamuni Buddha is even maturing now. The sun that shone today, wherever your garden is, and then now it may have set in the west, but it is still effect of the sun that has shone this afternoon is still having effect on the flowers and vegetables in your garden. Likewise, we too have this. Here it says the victor's air is seen in the mandala of the perfect Buddhas, meaning the very activities or airs of the Buddhas are manifesting in the mandala or activities. We are in the mandala of Dharma practitioners, mandala of fellowship and Sangha, and so this is mainly talking in terms of the qualities, how the qualities of Buddha is not ceasing, but continue to manifest. And then the third is the citation of the source of what we have. This is important. Citation of this, why these 64 qualities, which we mentioned. These 64 qualities, the first 32 qualities of freedom, and second 32 qualities of maturation, each combined with their cause, which we mentioned, which we went through last week, particularly the symbolism of the 32 excellent marks of a Buddha, and how each of these qualities came from what, their causes. We looked at all the 32 list causes should be known respectively according to the Ratnadarika Sutra. Yeah. Ratnadarika Sutra is requested by the girl called Ratna. So this is a sutra taught by Buddha, okay, not by Maitreya. So that shows this is not a Maitreya's text. This is taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. All the sutras. So here Asanga is very careful in saying that those, of course there are a number of other texts too, but he specifically spells out that particular Ratnadarika Sutra. I managed to research last week the Choedak Pakpa's extracted that sutra. I've yet to find the sutra myself because all the texts are up in Virupa and I haven't been able to go, and I'm not quite sometimes savvy to do that on the net. You can actually do that on the net as well, but sometimes those website doesn't quite allow you. They have their cookies or something happening, and then all these cookies. I don't eat any cookies, so. So anyway, Choedak Pakpa has clearly extracted those 64 qualities in a special text in his collected writings, and that's where I managed to research and make that poem and make that a handout last week. So therefore it says according to the Ratnadarika Sutra. So Ratnadarika Sutra is doesn't have to be Mahayana, because all these 32 major marks are universally agreed upon by all Buddhists, whether they're Theravadins or Mahayanists or Vajrayanists, all of them have no argument about the 32 major qualities. So citation of the source. So this is now why would Maitreya do that quote the sutra taught by Shakyamuni Buddha? Then that means Maitreya has to be a student of Shakyamuni Buddha. so the whole idea that these are written by Maitreya can be easily rejected. Now, revealing how these analogies, this analogy and meaning are harmonious. So that's what this is about. And so this has concordant qualities of freedom, So therefore, now it's going to cause how these the 32 freedoms and the 32 maturations are concordant with the analogies, So this we will look at separately, each of the 10 powers, 4 fearlessness, and 18 distinctive qualities, and also together. Separately means all of each of these 3 separately, and then collectively all of these 32 what we call freedoms. So tonight we'll just cover that aspect. Firstly, the 10 powers. 10 powers. So illustrated by the analogies of Vajra, we had this we already went through that all the 10 powers were likened with these I think 4 analogies. The Vajra, analogies of Vajra, and lion, and moon in the sky, in the water. These 3 analogies were used in order to illustrate the 10 powers. First 6 was one, and then the remaining. So this is how this text goes. It's going to recap again what the 10 powers analogies were. And the first 6 of the 10 powers, they are unbreakable. Therefore, it uses the word analogy of Vajra. Vajra means indestructible, and that could not be broken. And so the first 6 powers are unbreakable and illustrated by analogy of Vajra. And then the next one, next one is the fearless. Fearless like the lion, could not be discouraged. They are unbreakable, not discouraged, means the lions are fearless, and because of that, they cannot be discouraged. And then incomparable and immutable. So the moon is incomparable, and sky is the immutable. So these are the 4 analogies. Vajra, lion, moon, and clear sky, respectively. Unbreakable, not discouraged, incomparable, and immutable. So these four analogies, the concordant qualities of freedom, because the concordant meaning how these 4 analogies respectively covers the qualities of the 10 powers. The qualities of the 10 powers. The first 6 is unbreakable, and the 7th, 8th, and the other 2 has one has 2 and one has 1. So that makes the 4 analogies covered. The brief one. Now the detailed explanation of that is as of the 10 powers, which we went through last week, respectively the 6 powers, the first 6 powers, and then the 3, and then one completely. So this is talking about 3. Dispel knowledge. So dispel knowledge refers to we are talking about the qualities of each of these 10 powers, because the first 6 removes the remove the obscuration of knowledge. Dispel knowledge means they remove the obscuration of knowledge. Yeah, they are obscuration of affliction and obscuration of knowledge. So first 6 remove the obscuration of knowledge, and then the obscuration of knowledge, like the Vajra, which penetrates. Vajra penetrates through anything. Likewise, the 6 powers penetrate through the 6, the obscuration of knowledge that is very difficult to otherwise penetrate, and then the other three meditative concentration, including all habitual patterns, means that other 3 powers goes to dispel the obscuration from meditative concentration. So which is like a very much like a thick, like a very difficult to demolish, like a wall. So therefore, the meditative, including their subtle habitual imprints. So therefore, the pierce armor refers to the Vajra, the knowledge of the removal of the obscuration of knowledge by first 6 powers is like the weapon that would penetrate through the armor of the enemy. So the enemy in this case is obscuration knowledge, and the weapon that destroys is the 6 powers. 6. So that's why it's a pierce armor. Demolish wall is the meditative concentration. The meditative concentration demolish the wall of stagnation or some jhana kind of meditative concentration. People can go in a lot of meditative absorptions thinking that is enlightenment. So the 10 powers demolish the wall and fells the tree. the tree, when it's talking about the tree refers to the lot of growing kind of a subtle obscurations. Yeah, so they actually fells the tree, and therefore the power of sage is similar to Vajra, that is firm, resistant, steadfast, and unbreakable. Yeah. So this lists the qualities of Vajra. Vajra itself is firm. It is unbreakable itself. Nothing can. It cannot be destroyed by anything. Therefore, it is steadfast, and so that is the power. The 10 powers. 10 powers of the freedom. 10 powers is freedom from the opposite of Vajra. So, if unstable, unsteadfast, breakable, those are the qualities that are, enemies that are destroyed by the 10 powers. So this is talking about the detailed explanation of the 10 powers. So, therefore, they are firm. So these 4 qualities are now explained. Firm, resistant, steadfast, unbreakable. So they are firm. They are firm because they are resistance. And they are resistant because they are steadfast. And they are steadfast because they are unbreakable. Because they are unbreakable, they are like a Vajra. Yeah, so that explains the 4 very specific qualities of a Vajra that makes because Vajra is the concordant analogy of the 10 powers. Remember, 10 powers. So that concludes that. Now the analogy of the 4 fearlessness, the concordant analogy for fearlessness. This is a brief one. And then the detailed explanation again. So here it says, since he is without, he refers to the enlightened one, yeah? Because we are talking about the quality of enlightened one, yeah? So the sage or the enlightened one, sage is the enlightened one. So since he refers to sage is without fear, the fear is like the analogy of the lion, because fearlessness is uses the analogy of lion that has no fear of his other creatures, other beasts, and therefore it's independent. So he doesn't depend on anybody. He is not does not have to rely on indispensable companions. He's completely independent. He does not feel alone. He doesn't feel unsupported. He is completely independent. So that's why the Buddha was sitting under the tree. He was completely competent. He was indomitable. Maras attacked him. Cow herders disturb him. Whatever sphere, weather, come, whatever. He was completely stable and independent and did not fear nothing. Others would say, "Oh, it's getting dark. Let's get out of here." "Oh, it's cold. Get out of here." No, this is not just 1 year. This is 6 years continuously. And therefore stable. Yeah, stable meaning it doesn't get shaken by the object. Buddha wasn't shaken by the maras. Buddha wasn't shaken by the temptations. Buddha wasn't shaken by people rejecting him, people accusing him, people throwing all sorts of blaming to him. You wouldn't believe how many Buddha had one number of characters in his life. You wouldn't believe how many people accused the Buddha, how many people attacked the Buddha, and so on. He was completely unintimidatable by that, because he is very, very stable and is mighty, because he's got so much power of his qualities. His qualities is indomitable, incomparable. Because of that, the sage is like a lion. So here we use the subject at the back of the sentence and pronoun at the beginning of sentence. We could probably say, since the sage is without fear, independent, stable, and as mighty, he is. So probably that's preferable in English. You can put that. The sage is like a lion. That's a lion is the concordant analogy of the four fearlessness. Remember, he who is fearless amongst the assembly. Yeah. No matter whether somebody likes him or talks nice to him or opposition to him or walks off, he's not intimidated. He doesn't think anybody is indispensable. When his 4 or 5 friends abandoned him in meditation, did he say, "Could you please come back? I wouldn't cope without you guys"? No, he just let them go. He just let them go. He never saw they are irreplaceable. Nobody is indispensable. So the Buddha was completely fearless amongst the assembly. Nor will he will be enchanted because people love him, respect him, joyful, bow down him. No, he doesn't need any of those miserable respects. He doesn't depend on. He is not waiting on people's kind of respect. He's completely indomitable. He's fearless. He doesn't need respect. He's beyond that. So this is what we're talking about: the concordant qualities of Buddhas for fearlessness. So that's a brief one. Now the explanation of that, detailed explanation of that. This you can see the nature of the Uttaratantra is it gives a little brief and then explains, and then give another analogy, then it gives another explanation. So there's almost like there's no room that you can say I didn't understand that. Because it's going over again. It's really helpful for people who could not remember all of these things. So the detailed explanation of the fearlessness that we talked about, being omniscient, being omniscient, he always abides without fear. The Buddha is fearless because he knows these things does not matter. He knows he is omniscient. He knows what is real cause of problem if he needs to fear, what is real true cause of suffering if he needs to fear, because he knows truly, but this causes condition does not amount to anything. Because of that, he is being omniscient. anybody asks a question, he will be able to explain the meaning. He always abides without any fear. Fearlessness comes from competence of knowing everything, and there isn't anything that he does not know. So he knows, because those who don't know is fearful, anxious, upset, and very, very mean. All these things are people who doesn't know things. Because they don't know things, they are very vulnerable to fear, anxiety, and is always seeing negative things. Buddha doesn't see anything, because he knows of relatively how the causes condition makes things appear. Ultimately, he knows they don't truly exist at all. Even temporarily those exist are impermanent, not inherently existing, not truly existing. Buddha knows that, whereas so therefore he abides without fear, because he is omniscient. He is omniscient. Seeing how even pure beings are not comparable to him, he is independent. So remember, we said Buddha was without fear. Now it explains why he is independent. He's not comparable. He doesn't need the other practitioners, even those of the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva. Even the 10th Bodhisattva Bhumis cannot compare the Buddha. Even hundreds of 10 Bhumi Bodhisattva dwelling Bodhisattvas would not compare the actual quality of Buddha. So therefore Buddha is even the pure beings. Pure beings are beings who abides in the 10th Bhumi. 10th Bhumi is the highest Bodhisattva path. Yeah? Even the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva dwelling Bodhisattvas is not comparable to his qualities. Because of that, he's independent. Yeah, he's independent. Like we are all dependent. If something happens, we get really upset. Something happens, something doesn't happen. Also, we fear it will happen. We are totally dependent, and Buddha is totally independent because he's beyond ordinary causes and effect. He's fully enlightened one. So Buddha does not get intimidated by what may or may not happen, because he sees their temporary for causes and conditions, but he also sees the ultimately emptiness of all things. Because of that, he can, if he has to accept on the face value, on the temporal level, he can accept that. But ultimately, it doesn't really bother him. And soon it will be not, and there will be nothing much to worry about. He knows that. Because of that, he is incomparable. He is independent. Yeah, he is independent. So. And that's that. And then the explanation of the stable, yeah? He is stable, for his mind remains one-pointed concerning all phenomena. Yeah, Buddha's mind is not focused on one and not to see the rest. Buddha's mind sees the all things, all nature, all phenomena one-pointedly, and his mind is so stable in seeing the nature of things one-pointedly, not just one or two, but whole phenomena, all rounded. When ordinary people, no, they are not stable. They are very, very unstable, because they can only see one point of view. They couldn't see the rest of the thing at all. Because of that, they become very, very easy to become unstable, easy to become upset, easy to become disappointed, and then act like a childish, because they are not enlightened. The enlightened one's mind is completely stable, and therefore he is fearless. His fearlessness comes from his ability to remain one-pointed concerning all phenomena. He is mighty. Now the next one is the mighty. He is the mighty refers to the power of wisdom, of discerning emptiness. His power of wisdom, might, power, so he can transcend all the latencies of ignorance, all the karmic propensities of innate ignorance in grasping the body as me, or feeling as is real, and all of this. He knows that feelings are impermanent. He knows that aggregate is not self. He knows thoughts are illusion. He knows the objects are not objects, they are a reflection of your thought. Because of that, his mind is completely transcended all the karmic propensities and latencies, and that's why the Buddha's qualities, quality of fearlessness is mighty. It's very powerful, and so that concludes the detailed explanation, concordant explanation of the for fearlessness. Now the concordant explanation of the 18 unmixed features or 18 distinctive qualities. So the literal translation is unmixed features because it used the word mandebe che. Mandebe, not mixed. So you couldn't confuse the qualities with other people's qualities. Distinctive, yeah? So distinctive probably is better. Distinctive qualities, 18 distinctive qualities. So this is these 18 distinctive qualities are these are of course out of the first 32, 32 qualities of freedom, the first 10 and 4 gone, 14. Now remains the remaining 18. These are 5 similes. These are very important here. That we, and in the text it doesn't mention them, but these are 5 similes. The 5 similes are earth, water, fire, air, and space. So the 5 similes concerning the intellect. So the Buddha's intellectual qualities is comparable to those of the 5 elements in relation to the 5 different levels, to 5 different beings, of the worldly being. Firstly, the worldly being. So first Lama is the worldly being. And the second one is the listeners. The listeners refers to the Sravakas, Listener refers to the Sravakas and Sravakas, mainly Sravakas. And then the off-bias practitioner refers to largely biased because they are Pratyeka Buddhas. Pratyeka Buddhas are solitary because they are biased for themselves. They don't want to resort to other teachers. They tend to be quite an individualist, So got a lot of practitioners are very individualist, whether they are nowhere near with Sravakas, but they act like Sravakas. all this maybe the 21st century is very Sravaka era. Everybody wanted one bedroom unit. Sravakas. Anyway, so of bias practitioner, they mainly refers to Pratyeka Buddhas, and then those with insight. Those with insight refers to bodhisattvas. So these bodhisattvas are much more intelligent. So that's what intellect. Those with insight. The bodhisattva had the insight of practicing altruism. The ordinary people and the Sravakas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, they really are not. They don't emphasize bodhicitta. They definitely emphasize me, now, this life, my body. Maybe that's worldly beings. And the Sravakas mainly renunciate. They want to practice really, really strong renunciation, like a monastic, and don't want to be associated with the worldly people, and go somewhere, maybe live on alms and a very strict discipline. So they really listen to the really literal teachings of the Buddha, because literal teaching of Buddha does recommend that you should leave home and homelessness. If you try that, you will know what's like, of course. These days, it's very difficult to try homelessness. So it's fewer and fewer people will practice, will listen to the literal teachings. They will probably they will practice the interpretive teachings. They say, what does it mean? What does it mean to be homelessness? That's quite a different thing, So the listener refers to Sravakas. Of course, they they will mainly practice very pure. You wouldn't believe how the Shravakas were the ideal examples of Buddha's disciples. They really followed every precepts of the Buddhas by the word of every letter of the word. So that's why they are listeners. Shravakas, word Shravakas in Tibetan, Choedak. Means heard, and they heard it, they practice what they heard, and they make people to also make it people to hear it. So that's why sometimes called hearers and tellers. They're hearers and tellers because they heard the Buddha and they literally listen to every word, and they also tell people just that, and no room for interpretation. Choedak, Sravaka. Sanskrit, Sravaka, Choedak in Tibetan. Dok means to tell, Cho means heard. And sometimes people translate as hearers, hearers. Because that's really not enough. Hearers and tellers. Because Sravaka, Vaka comes from the word, cognated with the word Vach means to speak. So you actually say what you heard. So you're not just hearers. You're not just listeners. You are hearers and tellers. Tellers, so tellers. Not those tellers at the woolies, Tellers at the woolies. These are tellers of what Buddha said. It's good, isn't it? I mean, we're supposed to be telling what Asanga wrote. we try to tell and expound on Asanga's writing, yeah. So we had a bit of a telling there. I'm reading mostly than telling. I'm more of reader than teller. In the university, if you get a reader's position, it's quite high, Reader's. So I think I got that. I'm reading all the time. It's so lovely. So nice to have nice Dharma books. Who needs anything else? Reading, telling, Shravakas, okay, so listeners, and of bias practitioners. Yeah, bias, because the bias practitioner, they prioritize what they want to do. They're individualists. That's why they are translated solitary realizers, because they are individualists. And they actually achieve a lot of realization through being alone. Because they make problems when they're with other fools, They're already fools themselves. If they made another fool, they're double fools. It makes a very big fool. So they are solitary realizers. So quite a lot of Dharma practitioners actually like being solitary because they're much less harmful when they are with another person or not so dependent on each other, expecting of each other, misunderstand each other, and all these things. So the bias practitioner translated. So so that's I haven't translated that word that carefully, but it's bias practitioners. So probably should be solitary realizers, because if you look at that. If you look at Tibetan texts like that, most people don't know it's referring to the Pratyeka Buddhas. But referring to the Pratyeka Buddha, bias practice. And those with insight, that's exactly. Those with insight are the bodhisattvas. The bodhisattva have the insight of practicing selflessness, even if you adopt a renunciate life of a monastic, home to homelessness, and many do. Many amazing practitioners, they really have no interest in possessions or positions or wealth. They really practice so much for the Dharma, and but they are mainly practicing with a bodhicitta, inside of bodhicitta, of self-realized Buddha. Now the self-realized Buddha. Self-realized are the realized Buddhas. So that's Buddha, enlightened one, yeah? Realized Buddha. So these five, worldly, the listeners, Sravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, and the realized being, Buddha, each becoming progressively subtler and refined. So this means the five similes, the fire, water, earth, water, fire, air, and space. If you look at the five elements, the earth is grossest of all elements, isn't it? Gross, and then it gradually, each of the elements becomes subtle and subtler. For instance, space is very subtle. We can't even see it, yeah? And air is second subtler. Air still we can feel. So you can see earth. That's why in Tibetan stupas, when you see the stupas is always shape of these 4 or 5 elements, Every stupa has these 5 elements. The bottom of the stupa is square. That represents earth element, yeah? And then on top of that is the circular. And that is what we call belly of the stupa. That's represent water. Yeah, and then on top of that there is the 13 canopies, which are all stacked one after other, and they become like a pyramid. So that's a fire element, the fire element, and then on top of that is the really top of the stupa. Top of the stupa usually is a crescent moon and square. So that's the air element, and then on top of that you can't see the space. It's emptiness. So you can see all the stupas got this shape of the 5 elements stacked on top of each other. So this is beautiful depiction of the 5 beings from ordinary worldly to the fully enlightened one. Ordinary worldly people are very, very the ordinary worldly people and the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and fully enlightened Buddha. They are all very distinctive. You could distinctively see their qualities, their strength, their virtues, their ways, what they do and what they don't. Like there's only one Buddha. One Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and there are many bodhisattvas, and there were Shravakas. There were many Shravakas. Almost everyone becomes Shravaka when Buddha was. All his disciples achieve arhathood, stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, and many of them attain arhathood, and so if you look at the volume of the people. The volume of the people, grosses is larger, like the ordinary beings. Ordinary people are much larger amount. Those who are listeners and disciples are that much fewer. And among the listeners, there are fewer who wish to do solitary realizers. They actually become hermits. They actually go hermits. And others are always like the crowd. Only who want to become solitary realizers are the few takers from the listeners. among those who become solitary realized, those who actually go and spot the practice of bodhicitta is even fewer. And among those who gain enlightenment, fully enlightened, is very, very rare, like the Shakyamuni Buddha. So that's why the distinctive characteristic of Buddha, the 18 distinctive characteristic of Buddha are here using these 5 similes together with the earth and so on. Yeah. Because how does the Shravakas transcend the qualities of worldly beings. And like the Pratyeka Buddhas transcend the qualities of Shravakas. Bodhisattvas transcend the qualities of all the above 3. And the Buddha transcend qualities of all the 4. So that shows how the qualities of Buddha, enlightened ones, progressively become subtler and subtler and completely refined. And that's why the 18 distinctive qualities are the necessary qualities of the fully enlightened one alone. Yeah. So they are not comparable qualities of even bodhisattvas. Remember, it says bodhisattva dwelling on the 10th bhumi could not be comparable to the qualities of Buddha. Remember, so that shows how internal distinction there are between the qualities of those 5 different beings. 5 different beings. Yeah, 5 different beings. And now, sustaining the lives of all worldly beings, Buddhas are akin to earth, water, fire, air, and are similar to space, the character of which transcend the world. So this is what I was saying, that each of the five beings, if you look at these, the ordinary worldly people are like the earth element. They're just always interested in how to feed, how to eat, how to have a good warm bed, and that's all they want to do. They're just interested just the gross feeding, gross. They're just so gross, always talking about eating. What's for dinner? What's for lunch? Who's cooking? I didn't get a dessert, all that sort of stuff. So they're all, ordinary beings are always like worldly beings. But Buddha, nevertheless, sustained all the other four beings. All the four beings, like the four elements, sustained all sentient beings to live and have a roof over their head, have a warm bed, have good food. All of these, Buddha actually provides that. Buddha actually gives the real sustenance, even for the worldly people who are not yet disciples themselves, who are let alone becoming Prateka Buddhas, let alone become Bodhisattvas. Even those who have just listened Dharma a little bit and trying to practice, their intake of food, clothes, become much more meaningful. Nowadays, they're eating food for meaningfully because they got practice of Dharma. They're practicing their purpose of eat is to eat. Their purpose to eat is so that they can sustain their life to practice Dharma. That's why we say the grace, isn't it? We said, may all beings be sustained by the food of meditation, you see. Now, even we as the gross as we might be regarded as, because we couldn't better ourselves just yet, we're still on the grossest of level, we still are sustained by the Buddha Dharma, because we eat with the right attitude, we also eat with moderation. We try not to eat too much heavy food, which is heavy in terms of oil and fat and sweetness, and also hopefully not eating too much seafood or animal. So we try a little bit, Even if you once a month you practice vegetarian, even that is because you are sustained by the Dharma. Therefore, you are trying to make some little progress, amendment in your way of living, don't we? So we are also practicing that, So sustaining the lives of worldly beings, as well as the life of the listeners. The listeners, the Sravakas, the mendicants are living only with 1 meal a day. Some only 1 meal a day, at least not after lunch anyway. Quite a lot of the Sanghas are very, very disciplined. They listen to the Buddha's words. He said, don't eat after midday. And they listen word for word, and they don't eat after midday. And by not eating in the afternoon and the dinner, they are practicing Dharma to sustain their body, sustain their spiritual discipline as a monastic, even more so than the worldly people who eat 3 meals a day still feel hungry. But the renunciate who only eat 1 meal a day, they never feel hungry or craving because they're more sustained by the discipline of Vinaya and their vows of abstinence from various things, and they wouldn't own possessions, or they wouldn't hoard, or they will practice moderation and so on. Everyone is a sort of a listener. Everyone is we could say we are all a bit of a listener. Maybe not entirely Sravakas yet, but not enter into the stream yet, maybe try to drink some water of the stream, but not quite enter into the streams yet, but try to drink the stream of the Dharma little bit each time to quench our thirst of life's thing. We do, isn't it? We all do sadhana each day. You would have never done like that before, but you're doing, quite a lot of you are doing daily practices, which is really, we are sort of a listener. We are listening, and you are sustained. You're sustained by the daily taste or daily food of your meditation. If you do your sadhana in the morning, do this practice in the afternoon, do such practice on weekends, or certain practice you meet on the Zoom with everyone, and these are we are listeners. We are listening to the teachings, and we are prioritizing not to give them a miss. So that shows that we are sustaining our lives of not only lives of listeners, and also we are quite a lot of time we are a bit individualist. No, I have to do my practice. So that's right. So let everybody do their thing. We just go in our room and do our practice. You know. You know, I have a few Tibetans staying with me at the moment, students, and when I'm doing the sessions on Zoom, they say, "Rinpoche, time to eat." I said, "No, I'm not. You guys eat early. You can leave me a plate of food." They understand. They know how individualist I am. So in many ways, we are practicing Pratyeka Buddha. We're trying to sustain ourselves, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a beautiful analogy. If you look at the akin to earth, earth is the grossest one. Water is the disciple analogy of the water, because you are sustained. You're quenching your thirst with the practice dharma more than what you have to eat 3 times a day. You don't. You just here eating is just an analogy. The listener, the Ashravakas, because you are quenching your thirst more by discipline, maybe simplicity, silence, and moderation of food. You are using water of the Dharma to quench your thirst more. Yeah? And then, and the fire is the Pratyeka Buddhas. The Pratyeka Buddhas have great passion, great fire of great fire of determination to go stay in the as a hermitages by themselves, alone, with not missing anything. They have this amazing warmth of competence in their solitariness, and being able to practice that way. And the bodhisattvas are nearly flying. They are the air element, you know. Bodhisattvas are flying with air element, and so all of these first four elements, like sentient beings, are sustained by the space, which is the Buddha. So therefore it says, are similar to space, the characteristic of which transcend the world. So the space transcends all the 4 distinctive qualities or things of the 4 elements, because space pervades everything. There's space in earth, there's space in water, there's space in fire, there's space in oxygen. There's not a single element that is not. So Buddha has all permeated to sustain beings of all different levels of characteristic by his distinctive characteristic of sustaining sentient beings, so that his teaching for the worldly, his teaching for the monastic, his teaching for the Sravakas, the Pratyeka Bodhisattva, all of them are tailored, knowing very well through his enlightened mind how varied the interest, capacity, and abilities of sentient beings vary. So he has not made everybody should be like this and that's it. There's a one blanket rule. No, you could practice all different levels, even among the worldly people. He said you can practice as a laywoman, and with 1 precept holder, 5 precept holder, 5 precept holder for life, 2 precept holder for 3 life, and so on. And then on top of that, you can practice as a Saramanera, which is novice monk, novice nun, and bhikkhu and bhikkhunis. So Buddha has distinctively tailored according to different levels of capacity, just like the space supports all the 4 elements, and with that, Buddha is sustaining all sentient beings. So that really explains, that really explains in detail, specifically the distinctive characteristic, 18 distinctive qualities of the Buddha, who is which is likening to the 5 elements, 5 elements which permeates each the qualities of earth, space element, is in the space element. There is no earth, for instance. There is no water, for instance. There is no. So it doesn't depend on that. Whereas the other four elements totally depend on the space element. Space element. So that's why Buddha is able to tailor these teachings distinctively to mature and ripen the sentient beings of all these different levels of intelligence. Yeah. And in the Tibetan Buddhist kind of terminology, they talk about people of three levels of intelligence. The lesser intelligence, middling intelligence, and then advanced intelligence. And when they do that, they talk about lesser intelligence of people who are practicing Dharma simply to escape the lower realms and seeking higher rebirth, yeah. So they regard that as a lesser intelligence, and then but there is no. These are not classical Buddhist classification. This is definitely Atisha or somebody did that, and anyway, the doctrine within the writings of Lamrim, they do that, but other Tibetan traditions don't always do that, and then middling intelligence is people who are not just praying to gain higher rebirth and a fear of lower rebirth, but wish to attain liberation, to nirvana, yeah, to attain nirvana and fear of samsara. So that's called middling intelligence. Middling intelligence. And then the advanced intelligence, the superior intelligence, are those who are practicing bodhisattva's vows. Yeah, those who are not fearing samsara for themselves or lower realms themselves, but fearing selfishness, and thus adopt the bodhisattva. So I'm really saying this because all of you are familiar with these three concepts, three levels of lesser, middling, and superior intelligence. The Tibetan Buddhists use these, but they're actually sort of trying to simplify a little bit because if you look at the ordinary worldly people, ordinary worldly people are definitely can be classed as those who go to practice Dharma in fear of lower rebirth and the hope of gaining higher rebirth. There's no doubt about that. All Buddhists will put their hands up and say, oh, they want to go to Sukhavati next life and they don't want to be born in lower realms. And so you can see why the lesser intelligence would include the all worldly people, or at least the people who are on the spiritual paths, and because the materialists wouldn't even do that. The materialists even wouldn't practice with the belief that there is heaven and the fear of hell. They wouldn't do that. So that's why when Asanga talks about these 5 categories, it's much more inclusive. The worldly beings. So worldly beings would include, from my point of view, person of lesser intelligence and as well as middling intelligence. Middling intelligence. So middling intelligence, and within the middling intelligence, of course, if someone practice to attain nirvana. To attain nirvana, fear of samsara, of course, that will include listeners and sravakas and pratyeka Buddhas. But I'm mentioning this so that you are able to understand the three levels of intelligence that often the Lamrim teaching talks about. But other Tibetan Buddhist texts do not actually indulge in that way of classification so much. But this particular grouping, these 5 levels of beings, as mentioned here, which are using the similes of the 5 elements, are very classical and old, and probably very, very reliable. Because it came from the sutras, and that's why Asanga has put it there. So that's talking about the concordant qualities of 10 powers and 4 fearlessness and 18 unmixed features separately. Now, collectively speaking, collectively means how all of those 32 qualities of freedom can be collectively looked at. That's in 2277. This is collective concordant qualities. Yeah, collective concordant qualities. Although these 32 qualities are subdivision of Dharmakaya, so this means these 10 powers. 4 free fearlessness, 14, plus these 18 unmixed features. So although these 32 qualities are subdivision of Dharmakaya, meaning because Dharmakaya is for freedom of oneself. So gaining freedom of oneself from any faults and afflictions. Yeah, if you have achieved Dharmakaya, then it is achievement of Dharmakaya. Then you are able to manifest as the Rupakaya. So therefore, all of these 32 qualities of freedom, 32 freedoms, like a precious gem. So now it uses the concordant analogy of a gem because gem and its color, because gem gives color. Every gem has a radiant color or luster that it actually emits. So therefore, it says the precious gem emits a particular color, whether it's a ruby or crystal or amber or whatever it is. The color of the precious gem has a radiant luster that it emits. Yeah, and that color is not only unique, but it is very radiant, very, very clear to distinguish amber from coral and so on. You can see, and not only that, the shape of each of the gems goes with the color and the radiance and the light that it emits. And so therefore, the qualities, these 32 qualities of the Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha, these 32 qualities of Buddha is a gem. That's why we call Buddha gem. Buddha Ratna, Buddha gem, Dharma gem, Sangha gem. You can't have 3 Ratna if you don't have 3 gems. Buddha Ratna, Dharma Ratna, and Sangha Ratna. And the Ratna means very rare to find. Buddha is very rare. You don't see many Buddhas. There was only Shakyamuni Buddha historically. There hasn't been another Buddha ever since, okay? There have been look-alike Buddhas. They have been maybe named after Buddhas. They are, second Buddha, or they call Nagarjuna second Buddha. Tibetans call Padmasambhava second Buddha, or Tsongkhapa second Buddha. It's a very nice way of doing it, but it's nothing like Buddha. You can't have a second to Buddha. There is no second to the Buddha. Buddha doesn't have a second one. He's the only one. Then it's become very rare. Then it's very rare. Otherwise, everybody's got to bring a second one. There's so many second, and sometimes forget the real one. That's the danger of having a substitute. This is where the Tibetan Buddhists become Lamaism, because they think the Tsongkhapa and Padmasambhava and Sakyapandita or Milarepa is more important, and they always put their image very commanding in the middle of the temple, and there's a small Shakyamuni Buddha in the background, and the throne of the Lama is so high, the Buddha is almost you can't see. So I'm very, very hopeful that this culture will change slowly. The throne of the teacher gets smaller and smaller, and that no part of the Buddha is hidden, hidden at all, because Buddha is the rarest of the Buddha. So quality of the Buddha is gem-like, That's why Jungwa Köncher, we had the beginning, There are 6 reasons why it's called Ratna. It is very rare to find. And then gems are also very rare to find, But the Buddha gem is even rarer to find. And when did you discover Buddha, You've discovered many things before, but discovered Buddha, How long it took for you to really recognize that's a real gem, If you really have refuge in the Buddha, you wouldn't believe how much of your devotion, your joy, your quality of devotion has increased when you really felt the qualities. I remember Khenchen Api Rinpoche, when he giving teaching on the quality of the Buddha, he was talking as if he was really seeing the Buddha. His voice was became funny. He was crying, and I was translating him. I also cried. I don't know why, but I had no explanation why I cried, because where his Khenchen Api Rinpoche spoke about the qualities of Buddha was almost like indescribable. He felt that no word would do justice to true virtue and quality of the Buddha. Yeah, indescribable. So that's why it's so rare, and your ordinary expression wouldn't explain enough sufficiently, because the qualities of Buddha is inconceivable. And it's immaculate, And whoever gets the gem, they become gemmy. They become gemmed. They become influenced by the gem. And then they will have less anger, less affliction, less poor me, and all of that because of the qualities of the gem, precious gem. Its color, its radiance, all of this, People who have wearing a gem, they put the gem, They make the gem very noticeable, They put a little turquoise here and make it as if they really got it. Wait until you do the same about your discovery of the gem of the Buddha. So that's why collectively the 32 qualities are all discerning the quality of precious gem. That's why the analogy of the precious gem, its color, its radiance, its shape are inseparable from the gem. So therefore we must always stay in that light, in the light of the gem. People who have a gem, they're radiating because they're wearing the gem. Where are we wearing the gem of the Dhamma? But if we are radiating with the gem of the Buddha, I'm sure we will be much kinder to sentient beings, and so on and so forth. So this is talking about the collective qualities of the 32 qualities of freedom of Dharmakaya. Now, moving on to the second, the concordant quality of maturation. Those are the 32 major marks of the Buddha. So that's in next verse. The qualities which grant satisfaction by beholding are known as 32 marks. Yeah, so these are the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharmakayas, who is not dwelling in Dharmakaya but manifesting in Rupakaya. Rupakaya, its core qualities of concordant quality of maturation, because Buddha's appearance as a Dhamma Rupakaya matures people. It is said that even people like Churchill always carried a Buddha image. Whenever he's really stressed during the war, he always looks at the Buddha image, meditate, and it gives him some kind of solace and sane decisions how to go about what he was really doing. So lots of people have been ripened and changed by the possession of Buddha image, particularly if they have faith. This Buddha image actually grants qualities which grant satisfaction. People have found no satisfaction but any other possessions or companions, but when they really associate the Buddha image with the qualities of the fully enlightened one, it matures them, it gives them satisfaction, it gives them beholding, merely by looking at them. People's hands go like this, take their shoes off, It's not just kind of religiously doing it, but they somehow remember. Those who really truly know the Buddha will have reason to do that even without having an image before them. Each time they think of the Buddha and they meditate, they have reason to feel humbled and matured. They grant satisfaction. It says here, the qualities which grant satisfaction beholding are the 32 marks. 32 marks. They adhere to the two kayas, perfect Nirmanakaya and perfect Sambhogakaya. So this means the concordant quality of maturation is done through the manifestation of Nirmanakaya in the world, common world, and Sambhogakaya in the realm of the bodhisattvas. So bodhisattvas can see and hear the teachings of Mahayana directly from the Sambhogakaya manifestation, usually always in Sukhavati, Akanishta heaven, not in other places. That only happens. There are five certainties. One of the certainties is Akanishta heaven is the only place, and the teacher is necessarily in form of Sambhogakaya. Teaching is necessarily Mahayana, and time is always, and teaching itself is all Mahayana. So that is the Buddha actually manifests to mature others. In the ordinary world, they appear as perfect Nirmanakaya, like Shakyamuni Buddha, and likes of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and quite a lot of great luminaries are undisputedly respected, regarded, and they definitely manifest. They really embody that. You wouldn't believe how much His Holiness Dalai Lama's being there in a stadium, 30,000 people just merely beholding him, they all become enchanted and become inspired, and they feel somehow His Holiness has such a holy presence. That's what Tibetan use the word kundun. Kundun means your presence, your holy presence, holy presence. Of course, sometimes these things can go with the name and status and fame, but most people will not feel it if the person, if the likes of His Holiness doesn't have those qualities, not just because there's a title and so on. It wouldn't. And he has these qualities because he is in a birth Nirmanakaya, perfect Nirmanakaya, recognized as tiny as he was barely 4 years old. Ever since then till today, all his tireless work and amazing, wonderful activities of his being the holy presence has actually given a lot of satisfaction to people who merely behold him in person or his photo. And Tibetans would if they're going to have a celebration, which they do quite a few times a year, they always go to the celebration, and they bring this His Holiness portrait, and there will be a procession. How they will bring his portrait. And someone senior would carry the portrait. Others would play the trumpets and beat the cymbals, and half a dozen people before, and carrying banners, and as if they're actually bringing the very holy embodiment of himself. And as soon as the photo gets put into the throne and unveiled, the cart is put, everyone would go one by one and bow down to the holy portrait, and they become so enchanted as he was there in person. So these kind of qualities, those people who are ripened, this is talking of maturation. Some people mature because they know. They, for some reason, have this matured capacity by the holy name or whatever it is. And to some degree, all of us have that kind of devotion to our spiritual masters. And we shouldn't make anybody less than any Nirmanakaya has ripened and matured us. And if you discriminate, then you are not getting anything. If you see, have faith, and then you get satisfaction. Beholding, it's a satisfaction by beholding. Maybe all the 32 major marks may or not be there, but there still will be certain qualities that you can relate to. They adhere to the true kaya. So the enlightened ones adhere to manifesting as a birth nirmanakaya, or birth nirmanakaya, that's what the recognized incarnations of great beings are. Birth nirmanakaya, they're deliberately born for a legacy to continue to come to the world. And that's the birth perfect nirmanakaya. And perfect sambhogakaya. Sambhogakaya, of course, in the Akanishta heaven. So that's the concordant and dependent on true kayas. So those true kayas are Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya. And so now the actual concordance with all of these 64 qualities which we mentioned now is synthesized in this last verse. Those far from purity, refers to sentient beings whose karma is bit remote to be ripened because of their individualistic way. They're not in Dharma, don't have faith, or they have faith, they're flaky, and they're not strong. So these are those far from purity refers to that. And close to it refers to, like the Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. These people are a little bit so devoted to renounce everything, so devoted to work for the benefit of others, not for their own pursuit of worldly gains. And so these individuals, those who are far from the perfect purity or those who are close to it, see them as mandalas of the world of victory. All of them can see, when they look at the Buddha, they don't see them as a fiberglass or metal or bronze. They don't see that. Those who have true devotion, they see them as a true energy of the holy ones. True holy ones, like the form of moon in the water. Those people of different levels, some only see the moon in the water. They never see the actual moon, So therefore, seeing the form of the moon in the water is like the Sambhogakaya, because Sambhogakaya that you and I see are actually images of the Sambhogakaya. We don't actually see the Sambhogakaya itself. Statues with ornaments and so on, these are just like reflection of the moon in the water. We actually don't see the Sambhogakaya itself, because we are distant. We are distant from the purity, seeing the pure Sambhogakaya due to our inadequate development. But those who are close to them are bodhisattvas. Those who are close to them, bodhisattva, for them, they will see the actual mandala of Sambhogakaya. They will actually see the Sambhogakaya. So that's why some practitioners in their meditation, they actually have visions of Buddhas and deities in Sambhogakaya form. Why? Because they don't have to go to a particular GPS-able location called Akanishta and try to find a Akanishta with using GPS. You don't. You actually see the Sambhogakaya themselves. Why? Because you're close to the purity of your own development. So this shows that these are seen in two ways. That's the reason why the Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya is seen two different ways. Is that the Rupakaya is seen two different ways. Those who see the statues and all these things, they're only trying to see them as the statues or Buddhas, or as made in form of Sambhogakaya or Nirmanakaya, but they're only seeing the moon in the water. The moon in the water. They actually aren't seeing the moon itself. But those whose practice is very, very well developed, very well developed, then they will see the actual Sambhogakaya in in their pure meditation. That's what they say, vision of the Buddhas. All the biographies are full of practitioners having actual vision of the deities and speaking to them. So it's actually the same moon. But the moon is only visible in the water for those who are distant from the purity, and those who are close to the purity are very well developed, and they can see. So this is the actual concordance of the purity in relation to the true kayas. So therefore, like the form of moon in the water and sky, these are seen in two different ways. One in the moon, that is for the less developed practitioners, and others, but less developed practitioners still see the moon in the water. You see, they still believe in the existence of Sambhogakaya in the pure realms, and believe in the manifestation, the Rupa, excellent Nirmanakaya in this world, and therefore honor the Shakyamuni Buddha's image as a resembling the Buddha, resembling the Buddha. They need the actual physical image of the Buddha as a practitioner, the level they are. But those who are really advanced practitioners, for them, whether they are statues or not, like Khenpo Kumka Onchuk or somebody, when they were having to practice without any monasteries or paintings or texts or statues, their faith actually was even more stronger without needing these artifacts because they were not allowed to have any. So therefore, individual practitioners can challenge themselves even when you're not having all these amazing statues and tankas in you, but still you are able to sit there in your pure devotion and feel that. Others always think they need a really fantastic shrine to be inspired to sit in the practice. So fair enough. We are beginners. We always say which one statue should go when, and how should we make sure that we can see it on all of that. because we are on that level, we are on that level. But still, we are matured by the replica of the Sambhogakayas, by the replica of Nirmanakaya. We are still inspirable. But the others who don't have any faith, they'll see them as idols. Yeah, they'll see them as idols. They will see them put in a garden. I've seen some people leave the Buddha image in the toilet or in a room, somewhere in the corner of a room or somewhere. They don't put the Buddha images as a respectable holy object. They see them as I don't know why people give the Buddha images as a pet or something. They have Buddha images everywhere, but not as a holy religious object. So because they are not, but they really they sort of like the Buddha images to have somewhere in the room, but not necessarily following religiously as a traditional Buddhist would do. So that's a mainly culturally sort of influence or not. Anyway, so this concludes the qualities, the sixth sixth Vajra point. So the sixth Vajra point concludes with this verse here, which is very important because qualities of the Buddha. When we know the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, particularly with these 64 qualities, we have reason to rejoice. Why we have this refuge? Why we have the refuge? Why we have the amazing sense of comfort and peace that we find in the Dharma? It's because the object, which is the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, are valid objects of refuge. If you take refuge in people or institutions or people with high names or fame, if something good goes all the time, your faith will remain. But if something bad happens, you finish, your faith dies with their death, Or something happens to them, people say, oh, my guru died, they're looking for another guru. Oh, ridiculous, They never found the guru, that is the Buddha. Buddha is the real guru. Buddha is the real teacher. The others are just the torchbearers of that. then we have no likelihood of losing our faith with the death or whatever happens to conventional teachers or lineage masters or whoever they are, because you're not taking refuge in people and the title and lineages and schools and traditions. There's a lot of that happening in Tibetan Buddhism. And Lama is Buddhism, so that's why we can really then learning about these 64 qualities of freedom and maturation should boost our faith in the true Buddha, in the valid objects of refuge. And then we will cherish the Dharma even more, because only the valid Buddha can teach. Then the notion of Buddha teachings, discovering rocks and water and all that sort of, we don't have to worry about that. We already have the teachings of the Buddha. That is the great treasure. Even those treasure teachings, when you read them, they're exactly saying the same thing what Buddha said. So why we have to duplicate this? Why we have to make a second book? Why we have to make a second Buddha? And then that confuses people, particularly in the world that is becoming smaller. We got to make sure everybody go and hone down that we all, our refuge object is the triple gem. That's it. And not some kind of a dubious text or that kind of origin. So then there's no dispute. There's no dispute, There's no dispute. Because we all combine, we all understand. Because this time of the world, when we're going through this kind of world as it is, it's really important that the refuge in the triple gem can be understood only when people understand true qualities of the Buddha and Dharma or Sangha. Of course, when you really look at the true qualities of Buddha, it's very, very rare who have accomplished all those qualities. And there is only rarest of all rare is Shakyamuni Buddha, and he gave the teachings, and we are able to continue to learn the teachings, because it's kept by many, many luminaries, devotees, practitioners, whichever practitioner, whatever level they belong to, whether they're a listener, whether they are Pratyeka Buddhas, we are the Bodhisattvas, whatever they are, they all did their service. We are very, very thankful. But there is only one Buddha. And no, there's no second Buddha just yet. And if there's going to be a next Buddha, it's going to be Maitreya. But he hasn't come yet, so don't get the don't get the historical sequence wrong. Maitreya Buddha has not come yet. So with this we conclude here, everyone. Thank you. So that wraps up the sixth Vajra point, and now remains the last bigger Vajra point: the activities, the enlightened activities, the legacy of the Buddha. Legacy of the Buddha is the enlightened activities. All these enlightened activities, all these Dharma activities are dint of the very activities, which is the seventh Vajra point, which we will come to go over next week onwards. Thank you, everybody. Let's do the dedication of merits. Okay. Vadis mere me hoga da deva menzagam neza me hale bere obis from the ocean of Padadesine herenda Mahayana dije whatever Merera hevega me obebe constant levels to the Mahayana dije courage manju shrinyavade azama trabara de laiva follow it Zamba Aja de Dege Ode Mere Mede Selem Bodi Jida Tebe Verena Yedaza Ver has been Bo Mede Prelevedade generation. Thank you, everyone.